No one expected the knock at that hour, not in the stillness of a night that felt too delicate to disturb. Yet when she heard it, something inside her stirred, as if her heart recognized the sound before her mind did. Mira had been sitting by her window, watching the faint glow of distant street lamps flicker across the quiet neighborhood. She often stayed up late, letting her thoughts drift wherever they wanted. But that night, her thoughts kept circling back to Rowan. Rowan, with his calm voice and restless eyes. Rowan, who always stood beside her through every season of her life. Rowan, who had been acting strangely distant since earlier that week. She rose slowly, feeling a quiet thud in her chest with each step toward the door. There was no reason to be nervous, yet she was. Something in her sensed that this wasn't a casual visit. When she opened the door, there he stood, hands in his jacket pockets, shoulders slightly tense, as if he had walked through a storm that only he could feel. "Mira, I'm sorry it's late," he said softly, almost breathless. His voice alone told her this was not about something small. "It's all right," she replied, stepping aside to let him in. "You look like you needed to talk." He nodded, but didn't move at first, as if gathering courage. Only then did he step inside, and when he did, she noticed how he kept avoiding her eyes. Rowan never avoided her eyes. They sat in the living room, where the warm lamp beside the couch cast a soft glow over everything. Outside, the world remained hushed, as though giving them the privacy they needed. Mira waited. She always waited kindly. Rowan often said she had a way of listening that made the truth feel safe. He rubbed his hands together and took a slow breath. "I should have said this a long time ago." Her stomach tightened. Those were the kinds of words that could shift the ground beneath someone. "What's going on?" she asked gently. "You're worrying me." He looked at her then, really looked, and there was something in his expression she hadn't seen in all the years she'd known him. Something vulnerable, something heavy, something on the edge of changing everything. "I don't know if what I say tonight will make anything better," he whispered, "but I can't keep carrying it alone." Her breath caught. 1,000 possibilities rushed through her mind, each one louder than the last. Was he hurt? Was he leaving town? Did someone betray him? Was something wrong? But the way he looked at her, it felt personal, deeply personal. She swallowed slowly. "Rowan, whatever it is, I'm here." He closed his eyes for a moment, as if her reassurance only made the words harder to hold back. Their friendship had always been the quiet anchor of her life. Through heartbreaks, triumphs, and storms that nearly swept her away, Rowan had remained steady. Yet the distance between them that week had made her realize something uncomfortable. She depended on him more than she ever admitted, even to herself. She watched him, feeling a mixture of fear and hope. She didn't know which emotion was stronger, and that scared her most of all. The clock on the wall ticked softly, marking each second that he hesitated. And then he spoke, voice trembling in a way she had never heard from him. "Mira, I need to tell you what I've been feeling, and I need you to hear me completely." Her heart beat so loudly she wondered if he could hear it too, but she nodded, quietly bracing herself. Rowan leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped tightly as if trying to steady himself. "I didn't mean for it to get this far," he said, "but it did, and now it's all I think about. I just hope this doesn't ruin everything between us." Her breath froze. The edge of something life-changing hung between them, so fragile it felt like even a whisper could shatter it. And in that fragile pause, she felt the night itself leaning in. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Rowan finally lifted his gaze, eyes glimmering with a truth he could no longer hide. "Mira, There's something I need to confess. Her pulse stumbled, and then he spoke the first word of that confession, just as the lights flickered, as if the house itself gasped. The lights steadied a moment later, but Mira's heartbeat didn't. That tiny flicker felt like an omen, a pause in the world before something irreversible was spoken aloud. Rowan leaned back slightly, exhaling as if trying to calm a storm inside him. His hands trembled just enough for her to notice. "Rowan," she whispered, "you're scaring me. Please, just tell me." He nodded slowly, eyes full of a soft ache. "I will. I just need you to know, this is the hardest thing I've ever had to say." Mira's breath wavered. The entire living room felt smaller now, the walls drawing closer, the air turning dense with meaning. Rowan finally straightened his shoulders, though his voice remained quiet. "Mira, I've been in love with someone for a long time." The words struck her somewhere deep, deeper than she expected. Love. He said love. A soft warmth entered her chest, followed by an immediate pang of fear. He continued, unaware of the way her world had tilted. "And I tried to ignore it. I tried to pretend it wasn't there. But the more I tried to hide it, the stronger it became." Mira blinked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Why didn't you tell her?" "Because I didn't want to lose what I already had," he said. "She means too much to me." Her heart tightened again. It was the kind of sentence that could either break someone or heal them in a way they never thought possible. Mira's fingers curled slightly around the edge of the cushion. She needed to stay composed, not let her mind run ahead. But it did. Every memory of Rowan, every late-night conversation, every quiet moment when he watched her with that thoughtful expression, every time he stood a little closer than necessary, began to glow in a new light. A terrifying thought whispered through her. Could it be me? She pushed the thought away quickly, afraid to hope. Hope was fragile. Hope could devastate. Rowan rubbed the back of his neck, eyes fixed on the floor. "I know I've been distant lately. I didn't know how to tell her without ruining everything." She forced a small breath. "Rowan, you won't ruin anything by telling the truth. Whoever she is, she deserves to know." He looked at her then, his expression softening. "Do you really think that?" "Yes," she answered, though her own voice quivered. "Honesty is always better than holding everything inside." A gentle silence followed, one that carried traces of emotion she couldn't quite name. Rowan studied her face for a long moment, as if memorizing something. Mira felt her cheeks warm under his gaze. She looked down, pretending to adjust the blanket on the couch. That was when he spoke again, voice quieter but steadier. "The thing is, every time I tried to tell her, I'd picture losing what we already shared, losing her smile, losing her presence in my everyday life, losing the way she trusts me." Mira felt a felt pull in her chest at his words. Whoever she was, Rowan loved her deeply. That much was clear. And yet, something about the way he described her, something about the way his voice softened, something about the way he kept looking at Mira, it made a fragile hope bloom again, no matter how hard she tried to suppress it. She swallowed gently. "Rowan, maybe she feels the same. You don't know unless you say it." He hesitated, then nodded once, then looked away. "Mira, there's something else I need to tell you before I say her name." Her breath caught. What else? He leaned forward slightly, elbows on his knees again, fingers intertwined tightly. "I didn't plan to come tonight. I was walking, thinking, trying to clear my head, and I realized something that made everything even harder." Her pulse fluttered nervously. "What did you realize?" Rowan lifted his gaze slowly, and his eyes held a depth she hadn't seen before, a depth that made her heart throb painfully. "I realized that if she doesn't feel the same way, I don't know how to go back to pretending." Mira's breath trembled as the truth edged closer, closer than it had ever been. The room felt impossibly still, and then Rowan whispered, "Mira, I think she might be someone you know." Her heart stopped for a moment, suspended in a space between fear and fragile, impossible hope. Mira felt her breath falter, caught somewhere between her chest and her throat. Someone she knew. The words echoed inside her, gentle yet heavy enough to shift everything she understood about the night. "Someone I know?" she repeated softly. Rowan nodded. "Yes, someone very close to you." A subtle tremor moved through her, part fear, part hope, and part confusion she couldn't untangle. Her hands rested quietly on her lap, yet she felt as though they were holding something fragile that might slip through her fingers at any second. "Rowan, I don't understand," she whispered. "Why tell me like this?" He sighed, his shoulders sinking slightly. "Because you're the one person I trust to listen without judgment, and because tonight, walking in the cold air, I realized I can't carry this alone anymore." Mira looked at him carefully. The quiet tension in his eyes wasn't something she had seen often. Rowan typically masked everything behind calm steadiness, but now he looked openly vulnerable. "Tell me what you mean," she said softly. He leaned back against the couch, eyes drifting toward the dim lamp. The faint glow illuminated the side of his face, highlighting the uncertainty carved into his expression. "I've been in love with her for a long time," he said again, "and I thought I could keep it hidden forever, just to protect what we already have." Mira swallowed hard. Her heart felt too large for her chest, stretching painfully in every direction. "What changed?" she asked. "You did," he replied, startling her. "I changed?" Her voice cracked slightly. "Yes." Rowan's eyes gently found hers again. "Recently, you've been quieter, more thoughtful, a little distant. And every time I noticed it, something inside me twisted with the fear that maybe I was losing you." She blinked, stunned. "I didn't mean to seem distant." "I know," he said quickly. "I don't think you were doing anything on purpose. But it made me think, what if—" He paused, correcting himself softly. "What if you were slipping away? What if I never get the chance to tell you?" Her heart pounded so loudly she wondered how he couldn't hear it. Rowan shook his head, letting out a rough breath. "The truth kept chasing me tonight. I couldn't escape it. No matter how far I walked, one thought kept coming back, that maybe you deserve to know how I feel, even if it changes everything." Mira's fingers curled slowly around the folds of her sweater. She felt warmth rise to her cheeks, to her ears, everywhere. Every piece of her felt fragile, like she was stepping onto thin ice with no idea whether it would hold. "Rowan," she whispered, though she didn't know what she wanted to say. He watched her carefully, as if trying to read her heart one breath at a time. "I just need you to hear the rest," he said gently, "before I say anything more." She nodded, though she felt the world tilting. He exhaled slowly. "I didn't want you to think I'm pressuring you, and I don't expect you to say anything back. I just need to be honest." Her eyes softened. "You can tell me anything." Rowan hesitated, really hesitated, before whispering, "I'm in love with the woman who means more to me than anyone. The woman who sees me even when I can't see myself. The woman who makes every day feel like it matters." Mira's pulse fluttered wildly. And then he added, voice lower and filled with trembling sincerity, "When she laughs, I feel lighter. When she cries, something inside me breaks. When she talks, I hear every word. When she's in the room, I can't focus on anything else." Her breath slipped out in a shaky exhale. A quiet ache settled in her chest, warm, terrifying, and hopeful all at once. It felt like her entire world had narrowed to the space between them. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. "Rowan, you're describing someone important, someone you care for deeply." He nodded. "I am." "And she's someone I know?" "Yes," he murmured. "Very well." Mira's heart pounded harder, louder, until she felt it echoing in her ears. There were only a few women in her life Rowan knew this closely, but the way he spoke, so tender, so focused, it had to be. Her thoughts tripped over each other, refusing to land on a single answer. She took a shaky breath. "Rowan, please tell me who she is." Rowan's eyes held hers with a depth she wasn't ready for. Gentle, yearning, afraid, and hopeful all at once. He opened his mouth to speak. But before a single word came out, a soft knock sounded at Mira's door. Quiet, unexpected, and perfectly timed to stop his confession mid-sentence. Mira froze. Rowan's expression tightened. The confession hung in the air, suspended between them like fragile glass. The knock was so soft it almost blended with the quiet hum of the night. But Mira heard it, Rowan heard it, and both of them went still, as if the very moment had been interrupted by fate's uncertain hand. Mira's breath wavered. Who could that be at this hour? Rowan didn't answer. His gaze flicked toward the door, then back to her, a silent question in his eyes. "Do you want me to stay? Do you want me to finish?" She stood slowly, hands trembling despite her steady voice. "Let me check." As she walked toward the entryway, her mind spun with all the words Rowan had not yet said. She felt suspended between reality and a confession that might change her life. Each step felt heavier than the last. She opened the door a crack. It was only her neighbor, Mrs. Delaney, holding a small package with an apologetic smile. "I'm so sorry to disturb you so late, dear," the older woman whispered. "This was left at my doorstep by mistake." Mira managed a breath of relief. "It's all right, thank you." They exchanged a short, polite moment before Mira returned inside, closing the door softly behind her. But when she turned around, Rowan was standing now, hands in his pockets, shoulders tense again. "Everything okay?" he asked gently. "Yes," she said, "just a delivery." The package suddenly felt unimportant. Everything unimportant compared to the unfinished words hanging in the air. Mira set it on a nearby table and walked back toward the couch. Rowan watched her the whole time, his expression quiet, almost unreadable, except for the subtle emotion flickering beneath. When she sat down, the silence wrapped around them again. Not empty, not awkward, but full. Full of everything he hadn't said. Full of everything she was terrified to hear and desperate to know. Rowan slowly took his seat beside her. "Mira," he whispered, "I'm sorry the moment was interrupted." She shook her head lightly. "It's not your fault. We can continue." He hesitated. "Are you sure?" Her heart thudded once, hard. "Yes." Rowan took another breath, the kind meant to steady someone before they stepped into fragile truth. "You asked who she is," he said softly, "and I was going to tell you." Mira nodded, every muscle in her body tightening with anticipation. He turned slightly toward her, eyes steady, voice barely above a whisper. "But before I say her name, I need to know if you really want to hear it." "I do," she replied, the words almost too quick. "Rowan, please, just tell me." He studied her for a long, lingering moment, not searching for permission, searching for courage. "Mira," he said finally, "the woman I'm in love with, she's been part of my life for years, every season, every change. She's been my home without even knowing it." Her breath trembled. And when I'm near her, he continued, his voice roughening, I feel like everything makes sense, like my life lines up the way it's supposed to. A delicate warmth spread through her, slow and frightening, as though she was approaching a truth her heart already knew. But I could never say it, Rowan whispered, because I was terrified that she didn't feel the same, terrified that I'd lose her completely. Mira's eyes softened, her pulse unsteady. Rowan, sometimes the person you're afraid to lose is the one who needs to hear it most. He gave a fragile smile, one that seemed to steady him in a way words couldn't. She's someone you know very well, he said again, reaffirming the words that had shattered her composure earlier. Someone who sees often, someone whose presence changes everything for me. Mira's breath caught. Her chest felt too small for her heart. The world quieted around them. Rowan finally leaned closer, just enough for his voice to fall gently between them. Mira, Before he could finish, his phone buzzed loudly on the table. They both jumped at the sudden sound. Rowan looked at the screen, his expression shifting, surprise, hesitation, then mild urgency. He silenced the call, but didn't answer. Mira felt a pinch of worry. Is everything okay? I'm not sure, he admitted softly. It's someone I wasn't expecting to hear from tonight. Her pulse fluttered with uncertainty. For the second time that night, something interrupted his confession. But this time, Rowan looked torn, caught between the truth he wanted to say and the call he had ignored. He swallowed, lifting his eyes to hers again, and the look in them was heavy enough to bend the air between them. Mira, he whispered, I need to tell you the truth, but that call, it might change things. Rowan's phone stopped vibrating, but the silence it left behind felt louder than the sound ever could have been. Mira watched him carefully, her heart full and fragile, bracing for whatever came next. Rowan, she said quietly, you don't have to explain the call if you're not ready, but please don't stop what you were about to tell me. He glanced at the darkened phone screen, then back at her, his expression torn. I wasn't expecting anyone to interrupt tonight, not like that. Mira nodded gently. I understand. He set the phone down with deliberate care, as though choosing where he stood, not with the caller, but with her. Ignore it, he said softly. I came here for one reason, and I'm not leaving without saying what I came to say. Her breath caught. Then, tell me. Rowan leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees for a moment as he gathered his thoughts. When he lifted his head, his eyes were clear. Nervous, yes, but steady in a way that Mira's chest warm. The woman I'm in love with, he began, is you. The world stilled. Mira felt her heartbeat pause, then rush forward as though trying to catch up with the moment itself. Her breath trembled, her hands went still, her thoughts scattered like leaves in a sudden wind. Me? She whispered, hardly believing the word even as it left her lips. Yes, he said, and it wasn't hesitant. It was full, certain, and unbelievably tender. You. It's always been you. A soft, aching warmth spread through her. She placed a hand over her chest without thinking, trying to steady the rush of emotion. Rowan continued, his voice gentle but shaking around the edges. I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to risk what we already had, and I didn't want to make things harder for you. But tonight, walking through the cold air, I realized keeping it inside was hurting more than the truth ever could. Her eyes softened, filling with a mixture of relief and overwhelming emotion. Rowan, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, he murmured quickly. Not if you're unsure, not if you don't feel the same. I just needed you to know. I needed to stop pretending I didn't feel this. Mira drew a slow breath, her hands trembling slightly. I wasn't distant these past days because something was wrong. I was distant because I started noticing things I hadn't before. Noticing what? He asked gently. You, she whispered. His breath hitched. She lowered her eyes, voice unsteady but truthful. I started realizing how much your presence matters to me, how your absence felt heavier than it should, how my day always changed when you walked into it. I didn't want to misinterpret anything, so I stepped back to understand my own heart. Rowan's eyes softened with something warm and fragile. And did you understand it? Mira nodded slowly. Yes. He didn't move, didn't breathe, just waited. She smiled, small but full of trembling sincerity. Rowan, I care for you too, more than I expected, more than I ever admitted to myself. His shoulders loosened, as if a quiet burden slid away. Mira, but I'm scared, she added softly. So am I, he admitted. They shared a quiet moment, two hearts trying to find each other through the uncertainty. Mira took a breath. The call, was it serious? Rowan sighed. It was from my sister. She rarely calls this late unless she's worried about me. Should you call her back? Mira asked. Yes, he said, but after I say one more thing. She met his eyes, warmth blooming anew. I don't expect everything to change overnight, he said gently. I just want the chance to show you how deeply you matter to me, at your pace, with your comfort, with honesty between us. Her eyes glistened. I want that too. A quiet relief washed over his face, something gentle, heartfelt, and real. Rowan didn't reach for her hand, didn't rush toward anything. He simply sat closer in a way that let her feel the steady presence she had grown to rely on. Outside, the night seemed to breathe again, softer than before. Mira let out a small, hopeful sigh. So, where do we start? Rowan's voice warmed. We start exactly where we are. For the first time that night, Mira felt peace settle into her chest. Not the peace of certainty, but the peace of choosing something brave together. Rowan picked up his phone. Let me call my sister back. Then, I'd like to stay a little longer, if that's okay. She nodded gently. It's more than okay. He smiled, quiet, tender, full of a future neither of them had dared to imagine until now. And, as he stepped aside to return the call, Mira watched him with a heart fuller than it had ever been, realizing the night hadn't changed everything between them. It had revealed what was already there.